Good evening and welcome to this March Madness edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Charlie Siegel.
And I'm Zach Kreider. And for the next few minutes, we'll break down the 2026 NCAA men's college basketball bracket into the top 5 stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At number 5, Charlie, let's break down the East region.
We will, and I want to talk about the Duke Blue Devils. I have them making a run this year, and, we say it every year, but I think this is the year again, because it's the Cameron Boozer show. He's averaging 22.5 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, and we cannot forget about sophomore Isaiah Evans, who has taken a massive leap this year, stepping confidently into the role of the primary perimeter scorer. Evans has scored almost 15 points per game this season, has made 92 three-pointers at the 36.5 clip. Even though they are a top seed, they are battling some injuries like every team. Pat Gunga is their injured center. He is unlikely to return. We don't know for sure, though. There is word that he might come back, but what we are for certain is Caleb Foster is looking like he might not play the entirety of the tournament due to a fracture in his right foot that occurred in the finale of the North Carolina game. Now, another team I want to talk about is the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the TCU Frogs matchup. We talked about this earlier. I think this matchup is going to be whoever wins is going to lose to Duke in the second round. So as much of a Buckeyes fan as I am, I have them going down to Duke in the second round.
Yeah, certainly the most likely scenario. Duke, just a great team, like you mentioned. Talking about health, there's a lot of teams actually in this region that are just struggling with injuries. Louisville just recently announced they were without their star freshman, Mikal Brown Jr. So I'm taking South Florida to win this game, an 11 seed winning over a 6 seed. I just think they're a very fast-paced team that has 5 guys. They average double-digit points. And I'm just picking the younger team. I'm picking the healthy team, South Florida over Louisville. Now, UCLA, a team that I think could beat UConn if they are healthy.
At number 4, Zach, let's head out to the West region of the bracket.
Yeah, I would love to. My favorite region of the bracket, I would say, and probably the best region, I would say. Arizona at the top, of course, a great team, 1 seed for a reason. Purdue, I think, is a very interesting team, a team I don't really like, but at the same time, I think that they have the most experience of any team in the bracket. I think that they can make a run this year. You have Braden Smith. He's going for the school record in assists. He's a great catalyst for this team that, just like I said, has a lot of experience. I expect them to make a run. And BYU, even with the injury to Richie Saunders, when you have the best player in a game, and that would be A.J. Debonsa, projected top 3 pick, I think that he can take you possibly to the Sweet 16. I do have them beating their first matchup, and I have them beating Gonzaga there in the round of 32 to move on to the Sweet 16. And finally, High Point and Wisconsin. I had to talk about the Badgers. High Point, a very popular upset pick. They shoot the lights out. They have a guy that goes by the name of Chase Johnston. He wears number 99, kind of an odd number for a basketball player. They're talking about him being compared to Jack Golke. I don't expect the guy to hit 10 threes, especially on the Badgers. But hey, the Badgers, one of the best guard duos in the nation, Boyd and Blackwell. I expect them to score a lot of points in this game. I have the Badgers taking them down and going to the Sweet 16 against a team that I think you'd like to talk about.
I'd hate to bust down your beloved Badgers here, Zach, but I have them going down to Arkansas in the second round after they win. Arkansas, they're the team that is going to win it next year, and I've been saying this because they've been inching closer and closer to victory every season that they played. Last year they enter in the tournament, they lose early, and then they build up some NIL, they recruit the good players, they get the bad players out. It's just how it goes. Arkansas is one of the schools that's going to be kind of like how Florida was, kind of like how Duke normally is. They're going to appear way more frequently in upcoming years, but I have Arkansas advancing on to Wisconsin, unfortunately beating them, and then falling short because Arizona is a team that does exist, unfortunately. Arizona, we picked them early. Everyone's picking Arizona. They're just a team to beat this season.
Yeah. At number 3, Charlie, let's talk about this Midwest region.
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about the Midwest without talking about the Michigan Wolverines. As much as I do hate them as a Buckeyes fan, Michigan's been the team in the Midwest, and you know what? They are the team to beat. Unfortunately, I have to talk good about them. They've been playing amazing this season. Great defensively, great offensively, but what I want to talk about is Iowa State. You have Milan, he's the 50%er, Misanovic. Both him and Jefferson are a fantastic duo, and they've shown that they can compete in this tournament. And I have an inkling that we're going to be hearing a lot of noise from these two in this tournament, Zach.
Yeah, could not agree more. This is a phenomenal duo, probably one of the best forward duos, I'd say, in the country. You mentioned Milan shooting about 50% from 3, just ridiculous. But I want to talk about this 5-12 and 4-13 spot in the bracket. I have 2 upsets here, Charlie. I'll tell you what. Texas Tech, they lost their superstar JT Toppin to an ACL injury, and they're going up against the Akron Zips. Akron out of the MAC. They were overshadowed by Miami of Ohio, but this is a really good team. Tavari Johnson, he's averaging 20 and 5. They take care of the ball really well, and they shoot 37% from 3. It's always a winning formula in March. And then looking at at this game against Hofstra, man, Alabama, they just lost their star, Aiden Holloway. He was their best shooting guard, second leading scorer, and this is a huge blow for a team. They're so predicated on their offense. They play at the 4th fastest pace in the nation, and when you have to replace a guy like that, I don't know what that does to a chemistry of an Alabama team. I have Hofstra winning, and I also have the Akron Zips winning against Texas Tech. So I have a 12-13 matchup here in this bracket. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. But also taking a look at this 8-9 matchup. St. Louis, they have a man by the name of Robbie Avila. He's a 6'10 center. He wears goggles. I could see him becoming a fan favorite here in March. He shoots the ball, 3-ball, really well. 42% clip. Just unbelievable from a guy that size. And he wears goggles. I mean, what can you say more about this guy? But yeah, I really like this region of the bracket, and I think we can see chaos right here.
We've got more coming up on the list, including a discussion on the final piece of the puzzle to this year's tournament and our picks to win it all. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the show. Josh, let's take a look at some highlights from this last game here. What a performance by the UWW-TV staff in this one.
Absolutely. Look at this clip. Bree is going to signal for Ryan to cut to camera 2, but instead Ryan's going to cut to 3, and that's where things might take a turn. But hold on a second here. Just when you think it's over, Bree makes the split-second decision and reaches over Ryan to cut to camera 2 herself.
And the truck goes wild. Once again, the UWW-TV staff delivers.
Welcome back to the list on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top sports stories. At number 2, Zach, let's head down to the south to discuss the final piece of the bracket.
Well, I gotta say, I think this is the weakest region of the bracket, just my personal opinion.
I agree.
Specific team I want to talk about, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, they had a great football season, but they have had a really good basketball season too. They started off really hot. They cooled off a little bit down the stretch, but I think they were underseeded as a 5. I think they deserved a 4 seed. They ended up with a 5 seed. Usually those 5-12 matchups are always pretty tough, but they have Tyler Tanner. He's a great guard for this team, 19 points per game, 5 assists, nearly 3 steals. You really need good guard play in March, and I think Vanderbilt has it. I know McNeese is a very popular upset pick, but this is just a great team, and I don't think they lose round 1. Now, Nebraska, they started off 20-0. They're looking for their first ever March Madness tournament win, but they have a really difficult matchup with Troy. Troy, a very tall team. They rebound the ball really well. They don't really rely on the 3-ball. They just do all their work down low with their big guys. You have Price Sanford, though, for Nebraska, 18 points per game, 40% from 3. I think he's going to show up. I think they're going to get it done. I think they'll get their first ever March Madness win. At least I'm hoping for Nebraska fans. And once again, here comes Houston, great defensive team. But this year, they have a superstar freshman, Kingston Flemings, who's taken over. They finally have a solid option on offense, and I think Houston's going to make a run here.
Now I want to talk about the team that I've been calling the hospital team of the tournament. We've been talking about him earlier. Caleb Wilson injury is holding back North Carolina, so I have them losing to VCU in this tournament. You can't ask for these other guys like Seth Trimble to, it's unfair to ask him to step up and lead this team into battle. Unfortunately, I just think it's not UNC's year this year. However, got to talk about Florida. Florida, they're not the team that they were last season at all. Walter Clayton Jr. bailed them out so many times through his big threes and his crucial game moments. And I would just not be surprised if they were knocked out by a talented 5th seed. Florida, they're just not the team this year.
And our top story of the week, Charlie, let's discuss who we think will make the Final Four and win it all in this year's Big Dance.
Is it to surprise anyone? It's the Cam Boozer show, Zach. It's the Cam Boozer show. He is by far the best player in this tournament. And you have guys like I said earlier, Isaiah Evans stepping up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we heard noise from a sixth player off the bench from the Blue Devils. You know, this is a team that gets better after every single win in the tournament. And that's just how it goes. Duke, they've had the history. They can do it. And this is the season that they're going to do it again. But Houston exists, and Houston is the team that we knew they were going to be. You know, it's been said last season they were going to be the team to beat this year. And this team is so well-rounded defensively. They have established some offensive firepower. We've known from the past they've been mainly a defensive team. And finally, now they have some offensive firepower. They're going to do it. We've been saying it last year. Oh, Houston's getting closer. Houston gets closer. Well, Houston is finally here, and Houston's here to wreck.
Yeah, could not agree more. I also have those two teams in my Final Four. But on the other side of the bracket, I have Michigan and Arizona. Michigan, an offensive juggernaut. We've seen them score about 80, 90 points multiple times throughout the season. They're the best team in the country in defensive efficiency, and they're 8th in offensive efficiency. Like we said, just a great team. They're a little bit banged up. They've had some injuries to their guards. I don't expect them to make too much of a difference because they have Jack Lendenborg, and he's the best player on this team. 15 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. They have Morris Johnson Jr., Elliot Cadeau, Trey McKinney, LJ Kason. They're all guys that shoot 37+% from the three. Like I said, offensive juggernaut. They are ridiculous. And they play great defense. They have Ade Mara. He's a 7'4" defensive anchor. He can slow the pace down on offense if needed. And it's always good to have a guy that's 7'4" on your team. Now going over to Arizona, a very well-rounded team. This is a team that, you know, they've come into tournaments before previous years, and they just can't get it done. You know, they lose in the round of 32, a Sweet 16, an Elite 8. But I think this year is different. Koa Pete, we had a freshman. He was an outstanding player. He dropped 30 in the season opener. And I think he's going to get back on that. I have Arizona winning this thing against Duke in the championship.
I wish I could agree, but we're out of time. And that will do it for this special edition of The List. We will be back in 2 weeks to see how our picks fared and catch up on that week's top 5 sports headlines. I'm Charlie Siegel.
And I'm Zach Kreider. We'll see you next time for more sports stories right here on UWW TV.